In Chapter 8, we're going to talk about the quadratic functions. But to get us started, prior to doing any factoring, we're going to review greatest common factor and least common multiple. So just to review, GCF stands for greatest common factor. And we're going to start with some examples from the first page of the packet. So this is page 1, and this is example 1. We have 12x and 40x squared. So in class, I had said that we're going to do a factor tree. So you may or may not remember how to do a factor tree, but basically you're taking the 12 and you're going to write down what times what gives you 12. So I'm going to do 3 and 4. You could also do 2 and 6. But the idea is to break this down into prime factorization. So 12 can be rewritten as 2 times 2 times 3. And then we have that x there, so I'm going to bring that down. So we have times x. So 12x is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 3 times x. Okay, so I'm going to erase this circle here. So we're factoring it out, and you will notice that I crossed out my 4 and my 12 because they were factored out, so I don't want you looking at those numbers again. We're only looking at the prime numbers that are left. We're going to do the same thing with 40, so I'm going to start with 4 and 10, but again, you could do any combination that multiplies to give you 40. So I have a 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, and then I have x times x. So those x squareds come down and are right there. Now for greatest common factor, we are going to look to see what appears in both. So what's common? So I'm going to circle the common factors. So we have a 2 here and a 2 there. So I'm going to write down a 2. We have a 2 here and another 2. So that's another 2. And then we have an x and an x. So they have a 2 times 2 times x in common, which is 4x. So the greatest common factor is going to be 4x. Let's take a look at this is number 8, still on the first page. We have 30a cubed b squared and 24a squared b. So I'm going to start by factoring out my 30, and again you can do any combination that gives you 30. So that's 2 times 3 times 5. I like to put my numbers in increasing order. A times A times A, because there's 3 A's, and then 2 B's. I'm going to draw a line here. My 24, same deal. We're going to break that down, see what appears, for the prime numbers. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, and then our a squared, a times a, and our b. So now we're looking to see what is common between the two prime factorizations. So we have a 2 and a 2, so I'm going to write down 2. And they both have a 3, so times 3. And they both have an a. They have another a. And they have a b. So, altogether, 2 times 3 is 6. So they have 6a squared b. That would be their greatest common factor. So you're looking to see what appears in both. We're going to do one more, number 9. We have 32mn squared, 16n, and 12n cubed. So again, I'm going to start by factoring the numbers down to prime numbers, and I'm crossing out the numbers that we factored. So 32 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, m n times n. 16 we can break down to 4 2's, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times n. And then our 12 is 2 times 2 times 3 times n times n times n. So we're looking to see what appears in all three. So we have a 2, a 2, and a 2. So I'm going to write 2 down. We have another 2. And then no more 2's in all. There's an N, an N, and an N. So of the 3 terms, 4n is going to be the greatest common factor. The other part of this was the LCM, which is the least common multiple. And we're going to start the same way. So this is on page 2 of your notes. And we're going to look at number 10 first. So we have 20C, we have 12C. So I'm going to start by doing a factor tree for both of those numbers and writing them down as their prime factorization. So 20C is 2 times 2 times 5 times C. And then 12 we can break down to 2 times 2 times 3 times C. So we're looking to see what they have in common. So they have a 2. Write that down. Another 2. And a C. Now the difference between least common multiple and greatest common factor is that we write down what they have in common, but then we're also going to include what they don't have in common. So we're then multiplied by that 5 and then by that 3. So we'll take 2 times 2 times 5 times 3, which is 60, and we have our C. So 60C would be the least common multiple. Take a look at another example. This is going to be example 12. We have 36AB and 4B. So again, we're going to break these down, see what appears as prime numbers. So 36 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times A times B. 4 is 2 times 2 times B. So we're going to circle anything that's common. So you have a 2 in common, another 2, and then a B. So they have a 2, and a B in common. Now we're going to multiply by what's not in common. So 3 times 3 times A. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, that gives us 36AB.